Hello there, doctors. Welcome to Doctors Online Success. Have you ever wondered that there are other ways to help people seeing patient in the office? Well, today we're going to talk about one of the limiting beliefs that doctors think that if they're not seeing patient in the office, they're not helping people. And Mike and I are going to say that is absolutely not true at all, and both of us can show you example of what that is, and we exemplify that statement as well too. So Mike, what are your thoughts?
This has been a long-standing belief. I come from a family of doctors. I'm going to age myself, but I remember like the shows like Marcus Welby, MD, the old Family Doctor, where the doctor would come and visit a house, and maybe he might get a payment, would might be a fruit bowl or something like that. Obviously, being a doctor is probably one of the most intimate occupations you can do. I mean, you got the human body right there, so it makes sense. Many of us went into medicine because we wanted to help people, but there are different ways that you can leverage your own expertise as a physician to help people in other ways. Just give you an example. Years ago, when I was starting my entrepreneurship career, I started writing books or ebooks, digital books at the time. And I wrote a book on diabetes, helping patients with their diabetes. It just gave them common sense things that they could do to manage their blood sugars. And as a physician, I probably had about 3,000 to 5,000 patients that I directly took care of. But that book went online. It was on the internet. And I remember getting email letters from people from like Kenya and on the East Coast, Canada, Australia, thanking me for the information, that it was life changing, some of the information that I was giving them. And that really was just like a small window of that I realized was an impact of like what the potential could be. Was just like, not only am I a physician, I'm an educator. And now instead of helping 3 to 5,000, I could potentially be helping millions of people. And that really is awe inspiring to think. And that each one of you listening to this program has the power to do that, whether it's writing a book, whether it's creating a course, whether it's doing an event, whether it's through telemedicine. We can all impact not only hundreds of thousands, millions of people. And we know doctors right now who are doing these days. We feel there's not enough doctors getting in the forefront of that. I feel that a lot of non-doctors are kind of dictating what health is today. And I think physicians should be back on that pedestal again, because that's what we were all trained to do.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I was one of you where, I was the only way I could see patient was seeing them in my clinic up until 2020. And then when COVID hit, I decided that I got to figure out a way to make money without seeing patient in the office because patient weren't coming in the office at that time. And that's when telemedicine started booming. We have to figure out a way to work virtual. So telemedicine started, I started using telemedicine to see patients, but then I got another idea and say, wait a minute, if I'm able to help patients through online, why can't I go and teach patients about what I do on an everyday basis by just creating videos and opening up a YouTube channel and creating content to educate about sexual health, which is what my specialty is, reversing sexual health through natural lifestyle modification and also even prevention. And what I find out is what you mentioned earlier is that just one video that we did, and it's been 4 years now. We did that in 2021. It has 1.4 million views as of today. 1.4 million from one video. And I know that in a lifetime of a doctor, there's no way you can see 1.4 million patients in your office. With just one video that I did, probably like 10-minute video that was 4 years ago, is still now being played over and over again for people all over the world, not just in the US, but all over the world. On my channel, only 48% of people that watch my video is from the US. 52% are all over the world. My point is, you can make such an impact just educating patients. It doesn't have to be technical health. You can be a primary care doctor and educate patients on how to control their blood sugar by what they can do and what food is bad and what kind of diet, what kind of exercise to do. And if you're a hormone doctor that does hormone, you can educate people on what hormone replacement therapy can do. But there's so much that we have learned from 4 years of med school and 10 years of residency, and then in clinical practice. The knowledge that we have could be somebody treasure that I can't tell you how many comments that I get from our videos saying, Doctor, thank you. I listened to your video and I did what you said. And now I feel so much better. You are a godsend. Thank you so much for doing this. And I don't know who I'm helping, but I do know that it's making an effort. And imagine if all doctors, if we can just get online creating content to educate, what impact will that be? And Mike said, it's time for us to take ownership of being a doctor, being the expert that we are, and get online to create that impact. Because when you create that impact, that will grow your brand, that will also grow your credibility, grow your reach, and also grow demand. So if you're an employed doctor, that will make you more valuable in your organization because you have a reach. And if you are a non-employed doctor in your own private practice, then you're able to have more expertise and be able to charge more premium prices and to be able to have a brand that's reached just outside of where you practice, but nationally. That's what we're seeing with my channel is that we're having a draw of people all over the US, mainly US because they can only travel within US. We actually have one person right now that's coming to see us from the UK. So it'll be our first international patient at this point. But the whole point is that it's doing exactly what you're doing in the office and when you're talking with your patient. But now, instead of talking one to one with the patient, you can now talk to a camera, which then the message is now being viewed for everyone.
Also, if your income, as most doctors are, is dependent on how many patients you see in a day. So what happens if last week we had a couple of no-shows? Well, guess what? We have no income coming in. We're a cash-based patient. And when you start going from one-on-one to one-to-many, that's where we have this compounding effect in terms of like income. Imagine instead of getting paid to see 20 patients a day, you create something once, let's say a course, and you make 20 sales a day. You created something once, but you get paid multiple times. And it created a video 4 years ago that she's still reaping the benefits from today. So that's where we need to start thinking of from one to one to one to many. And I actually think that's where medicine is actually going. As we see these days with physicians in short supply, we all know about there is a shortage of physicians, and more into the physician extenders are mostly now seeing one-on-ones. We have a different role, and some physicians, whether we like it or not, we need to realize that this is coming. And it'll be those doctors who understand the concept of one-to-many who I think are going to be able to not only survive, but thrive as well.
Absolutely, because when you can have an impact that is beyond the office, you really diversify yourself. Because what if we have another pandemic that's going to hit? We don't know when that will be. Another pandemic, and everybody stays home again. What are you going to do? How are you going to pivot? How are you going to make money? And with the advent of AI and robot, and that's going to affect healthcare. And I know it will be. It'll probably affect the way how we operate. How will doctors differentiate and make us more valuable with the advent of robot and AI? We have to see, but it's also an opportunity for you to be able to elevate your brand and be able to be more visible. And let me ask you this question, Mike. We got back to the original question. If I'm not seeing patient, I'm not helping patient. What made you decide, well, that's not true. I'm just going to do it. What was the pivot for you?
Yeah, the pivot for me was I felt that I not only could I help patients as a doctor, but I also had expertise in helping people in other ways as well. I have some knowledge about building a business. And then when people found out that I was pretty good at doing that, then they came to me for advice and help. And so then I created content to help them in that way.
But what occurred in your mind? And I know this is a while ago. What occurred in your mind that said, I got to create content. I mean, that's like something new for doctors to start thinking about. What went in when your mind say, I got to do that?
Well, because you have to have people to know, like, and trust you. So if I just said, hey, I'm a brain surgeon, come and trust me and just take my word for it. No, but if you told me, like, I understand how the brain works, that I've had content to show me I've done all these brain surgeries, I've had these certifications, I have to start saying that I'm an expert at what I'm doing. If I just said that, okay, I'll open my doors and people will come see me, they might not necessarily think that I know what the heck I'm talking about. When you're creating content, what you're doing is you are showing them that you have the knowledge, you have the expertise, you have the confidence to help others find the solutions to the problems that they're currently having. So content comes in forms of, like, I've experienced the same thing. When I have physicians come to me about their struggles on burnout, and I'm not necessarily a burnout, but they can relate to me because I've had stories about that. If I've had to deal with these problems, that's where they come to me. When you talk about your expertise in sexual health, you just don't say, hey, just come to me, open my doors. That's all about. What you do is you explain some complex problems, but simplify in a way that people can understand. And that's why you have patients that fly from other countries to come to see you, because you established yourself as the expert. And the way that you could do that is through content.
Absolutely, because if you create content or just like a video, because sometimes doctors say, "What's content?" I mean, but video that resonate with somebody, and somebody really like that message, then they start listening to you more, and then they start saying, "Oh, you know what she said or he said makes sense. I'm gonna listen more." Well, that's how I got into Mike's world. When during COVID, I had time on my hand. I was exercising a lot. The only thing I could do was walk outside. So I would walk 5 miles a day. And guess who I was listening to on podcast on my iPhone? I was listening to Mike podcast, Bootstrap MD, and I would do a whole like 5, 6 videos in a row. And that's how I learned about entrepreneurships and other things that doctors are doing outside the office. And I really have to say, Mike, that kind of brought my juice about thinking about other possibility as well too. But at that time, I was already in entrepreneur organization. I joined entrepreneur organization or EO in 2018. So my foot was already in there, but definitely in 2020, thinking about physician, other sources of income for physician, you were actually one of the person I was listening to. And what I'm also trying to say is doctors, when you're listening to this, imagine somebody listening to you while they're walking. Imagine somebody listening to you while they're driving instead of being in the office to see you. Imagine how your message, because we all have an important message we want to convey, right? We all have want to make an impact, or else we wouldn't be doctors. We wouldn't be undergoing all the 12 years of sacrifice that we have to do. And so we want to help people, but we also want to have a message out there. Well, what if your message could be heard 24/7? When you're sleeping, somebody else is listening to you in another continent or walking like I did. I was listening to you when I was walking every day at that time. So having said that, we want doctors to realize that you are creating an impact and helping people when you're not seeing patient in the office. And sometimes that's kind of weird to think about, but yes, you can educate. But when you educate people, you are helping them. Because there's such a thing that says you don't know what you don't know. And I love that phrase because you don't know what you don't know until somebody tells you so. And you're like, then you know what you didn't know before. And so I wanted to kind of end this episode by saying that you can do it. All you have to do is press record on the camera and share your knowledge. Any last thought, Mike?
Yeah, I think that doctors, they always downsell what they can actually do. I know doctors often say the only thing that I can do is see patients, but you can educate patients in so many different ways. If you've experienced burnout, maybe that's the start of becoming like a coach and helping others in that field. Maybe you're great at wealth management or, some tax savings. Maybe that's another way that you could do it. Really, the only thing that limits all of us is what's up here. It's the obstacles that we put in our head that say, I can't do anything. You are not justified. Yes, for many of us, our career is everything, but it's not the only thing on in there. And what we hope to do here at Doctors Online Success is to open your eyes and open your ears to what else is out there. I know you can do it. It's out there. And we talk doctors every single week who pay us quite a bit of money actually to help them. And really what it is giving them the confidence that they can do it on their own. They've done a lot of hard things already. You have done a lot of hard things to get into medical school and residency. You guys are the 1% of the 1% on in there. We have challenges in medicine, but if we're able to, I think physicians, if we're able to band together and understand that we can control our own destiny and start living and start dictating what we do instead of letting others dictate what we do, then we're taking back control. And all of you have the power to do it. And hopefully something resonated with what Ann and I are saying, that you can do this as well.
Yes, doctors. It's really what's in between your ears that's limiting you, because I always tell doctors, remember when you first started med school? When you first started med school, it didn't enter your mind that, hey, I'm not going to finish med school, right? Like you're going to finish, you're going to do whatever is necessary to go to the next step and to finish med school. It's the same thing. If you have an urge or a need to feel like you need to do more and you have a calling that you need to share your message, then just take the next step and maybe just get online and record and share your message. So, having said that, thank you for listening to our episode on Doctor Online Success. I'm Dr. Ian Truong,
I'm Dr. Mike Woo-Ming.
and we'll see you in the next episode, doctors.